All right. Good morning, everyone. We got the trading room for Tradingology on 10/10/2019.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. How are we doing this fine day?
I'm doing great.
Morning, Nisham. Good to see you.
Hey, Sham, you didn't catch that long trade. Come on. You had plenty of time before the open. That's all right. It was iffy. That was for sure. I mean, we everything looked positive at the open, and we had a little bit of time to get into it, but I didn't take it either, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, I see just 9 minutes ago. Big day of negotiations with China. They want to make a deal, but does the president? And they're meeting with the vice premier tomorrow at the White House. So,
I am getting so tired of those announcements. It seems like every time the president says that they're going to go back to the table, the market goes up, and every time Chinese prime minister says, "No, we're not going to do this," the market falls apart.
yeah, like it did yesterday after the close.
Right.
I mean, look
And,
at
you,
that thing.
and the great thing about the signals that we use in Market Timer is that it told us that the market was going to go down yesterday. It went down after the market closed, but still there was a lot of selling going into that. And so if there's any clear manipulation in the market, I mean, that's where I think that's what happens. It's too convenient. You see these signals coming in that people are actually selling. And I always say that, you want to pay attention to what people do, not what they say. And, what they were doing was in the rally yesterday, they were just selling into it so they could, sell short their futures positions and then, cover them the last night after they open. It's just too convenient.
Yeah, then we'll see how long this one lasts. Who knows?
I don't think it's going to last long, and that's why I didn't take a long position, because obviously I had no idea that it was going to go up 170 points on the futures. But I just don't think it's going to last long. I think we're already in a bear market, and any rally should be sold. So rather than chasing this thing, I'm
Right.
just going to keep an eye on it and wait for the next opportunity to short.
Yep, and it's actually just lining up with the call today for better. It's actually we're starting to point down. It's almost a nice entry point right as we were starting the room for a short the spread with the market going up a bit. Lots of
Well,
volatility though, obviously.
yeah. And so I'm wondering, as the more when we did the new spreadsheet, if you want to bring that up, let's take a quick look at it, because one of the factors now that I'm using in order to determine whether or not the market is going to be up or down on the day, in addition to the market timer signals, is the VA, is the arbitrage spread, because we got those high-low and the VA spreads over there. We're keeping track of the plus and minuses on the spread. And I knew we were in a negative trend environment, so the market was going to go up.
Right.
So I'm cheating. I'm cheating a little bit. If you can
Quite the
call it that.
forming there.
Yeah. I said, wait a minute. The first thing I do in the morning is the VA spread and the TSA. And I said, we're in a negative environment. The chances are greater, plus with the market timer signals and the pipeline going down and the MT volatility declining a little bit yesterday, we're probably going to go higher today. And then when I did the VA, I said, yep, that's confirmed.
Right. You call it cheating, but it's just putting all the pieces together, right?
Yeah, I'm joking. It's like I'm peeking ahead into the future,
Right.
It really is. It's amazing how well that can predict or at least confirm what the other signals that market timer is generating, to confirm that we're either going to go up or down in the markets.
And the other piece that you've seen too, and I don't know if other people have caught it, but that spread is a nice indicator for the reverse too, where we saw, I forget which way it went. I think it was last week, where the spread started to turn up and then the market just fell apart. It's like, yep, it was the early signal.
Yes. Absolutely right. Sham, good morning. Andre, good morning. Anorg. Sham says, looks good for a short anytime soon now. I don't know. I think I'm going to let today play out. I'm not going to take another short like we did yesterday because we had MT volatility declining at the end of the day yesterday. So I'm not going to take anything today. Probably. I said that yesterday too, but when I started looking at it. But today, if it was going to go down, it would have gone down right away. And the fact that it's not going down means we're probably going to stay positive on the day. I don't know what it's going to close at, but it's going to be positive, I believe. Unless we get a what is it, Zing Pow something?
Right. Zip boom bam.
Yeah, whatever his name is. Not to disparage his name in any way. I just can't pronounce it. He probably will come out and say, or he'll walk away. Remember those like 2 weeks ago? He was here with the president and they were touring farms or something in the Midwest. And they cut the negotiations and tour short, and he left. He left abruptly, and I think the market tanked like almost right away when he did that.
Yeah, I got the joy of the president's coming to my state today, so it's going to shut down all the roads.
Oh, is he really?
He's coming to do a tour. Yeah, I think he lands is it tonight in the middle of the day? I'm staying home, so I don't remember exactly what time it is.
Campaigning?
Yep.
It's funny. I think it's kind of weird to me that a sitting president is allowed all this time to campaign for his next election when it's still about a year away.
We started the day after he was hired. What do you mean?
Yes, of course, that's right. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Yep.
What's the Sham got here? The updated market internal script. Did you customize it with the dots? I downloaded it yesterday, but it looks a bit different to what you showed us on Tuesday.
Yeah, I probably use dots instead of lines.
So did you drop that new one in the...
Yes, I did.
Cool. I'll have to go grab that later today. Thank you, Anurag. You're welcome.
Yeah, I think originally there were lines instead of dots for the volume and the up and down for the advanced decline. So you'd have to go in and let me just pull it up here for a second. I like the dots because it just kind of separates everything.
Let's see.
Figure out which chart it's on. There we go.
Did you put it together with which script did you put it with?
It's called MT_internals or just MT internals. It's in the zip file for the MTXL, Market Timer XL scripts.
Gotcha. There it is. Internal study and line study. All right.
So what you want to do is it's UDNA is a dot, DDNA is a dot, and that's it. Those are the two dots. So it's the first two plots when you go to the gearbox and set them up. The up DNA I have as gray dots, and the down DNA as a green. By the way, the reason it's called DNA was originally that script when I created it in 2002. I had named it Market DNA because the original script look like a DNA molecule, like a DNA, what do you call, strand or something.
Nice.
And I called it Market DNA, and then, but I never registered the trademark for it. And this guy from California who looks like he was starting some sort of trading service or something for investment advisors, registered that as a trademark. And he sent me a letter saying that I couldn't use it anymore because he had it registered. Jerk. And I've been watching it. I'm waiting for that
expire
because I don't think he also registered marketdna.com, which I had not done as well. Stupid. And I don't believe it's available. Yeah, it's not available anymore. It says marketdna.com, make an offer. Buy now for $1,888. Oh, thank you. So he's no longer in business. I am still here.
All right, let's see if I can do that.
Sean says, Dave, the updated market internals. Oh, I got that. Okay. Norg says, by the way, Dan, thanks for the TOS setup. Very useful. Cool.
Good. I might just put it on. So I just drug it over, and I will update these if you wanted to, a new rug. Or I've actually added a third. There's been an update since Tuesday already where I dropped in the original one that we were talking about of the MTXL. So we see it turning down now, which is cool with that. So I just threw the only thing in here. So there's all the lines you got. What do I have this on? This is on a daily, so I got to switch that. What do you usually got? 10, 15, 5? What's happy?
I put that on a 5 or a 10. I've got it on a 10 because I've got the SR script on it as well.
I can definitely add a chart back in, but I'll just throw it on this just so I can see it for now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's fun.
Yeah, well, you've got the overnight session in there probably. So.
Oh yeah. It's that default. Whenever you do a new one.
No, it's equities.
Oh yeah, there we go.
There you go. Yeah, now you got the continuous. And then just go into the studies and the gearbox. The lines are already gray and green. All you got to do is switch them to a dot. Yep, first one there is instead of draw as a line, you do the dot.
So UDNAV.
Yep.
Then who's the other one?
DDNA. Yep, the very next one. And that's a dot as well. That's it. That's all you got to do. Boom. You are good to go.
So now it's recorded for everyone. You can back up and rewind all you need to.
Yeah, I kind of like that. You have the red in there so that you can that's a slower one. The yellow is the real-time one, and the green is the little faster one. So you got a fast, slow, and the actual average. And then what I like to look at is the dots when they separate. Then I pay attention. Something's going on. Like right now, so it's almost a little bit like the ribbon study, but it doesn't have as much. This is only market internal, so it doesn't have any of the algorithms that the ribbon study has. But you can see now that the gray dot, which is the volume line, volume up DNA. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a combination. I believe in this script, it's the average of the volume and the declining issues, or up issues and the up volume. And so now it's below, it's starting to drop pretty quickly. So we'll see what happens soon. But yeah, so it's very, very similar to the ribbon study, but the difference is it only uses market internals without any filters or algorithms. And it's all in real time.
So I put it together. So those that are curious, all 4 of these are just kind of on one map here, whatever you want to call it, and I just leave that in one of my corners just so I can see UD vols, advanced declining, and then the ones that make scripts out of it. So different ways of looking at it. So there you go.
Nice.
Hot off the press, fresh download. All right.
Did you happen to see that the Bitwise ETF proposal to the SEC was declined?
I did not see that.
Yeah. This is like the fourth or fifth time that the SEC has declined an ETF proposal for Bitcoin. This one's a little different though, because instead of the SEC just saying we're done with, we're denying the application, they wrote 118 page or 112 page dissertation basically on why it was declined.
Jeez.
So I've gotten through page 40.
My time was consumed looking at the silly tax bills that came out about crypto.
What was that?
My silly time was consumed with looking at some of that tax information that the IRS.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, is that a mess?
I tell you.
That is disaster land. I mean, confusing. Yeah.
Do you think I just thought of this just now. It's interesting the timing that they released that around, I think, isn't today the final day for getting your extended taxes submitted?
Is it?
I believe so.
Oh.
So anybody that filed for an extension had like till today, I think, or at least it's this week.
Oh. I've never done that, luckily. I've always been pretty well prepared.
I was reading that there was, I think it was like a record number of extensions may not get filed on time just because the volume that people were working on in certain firms. It's like, wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So yeah, they're providing tax guidance the day before.
Right.
Those are due. Wow, that's a little weird. But also maybe the timing is also, I've noticed a couple of things. Number one is that the tax guidance, this ETF disapproval based on in a long dissertation of why it was disapproved. And so I think there's more clarity coming from the agencies. So they're starting to put together longer documents. They're starting to put together more thought into how not only are digital assets taxed, but how they're going to be regulated. And so my gut feeling is that they're going to be used by Congress in a way to draft some sort of legislation, at least clarifying the market and classification of digital assets.
Right.
If that, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think these things are starting to build they're starting to get into the
more mainstream there. They've had enough time to study it where they can put together thoughtful idea around it, and like you say, the dissertations and all the data.
Exactly. I think that's where it's going. I think they're just trying to provide more clarity, but they can only provide guidance. They can't enforce anything except what's already on the books. And really because there's no classification of digital assets, they're just kind of trying to fit them into existing classifications. And so for the IRS, they're saying basically it's just personal property, just like you would sell a chair or a couch that you have in your living room and you want to sell it to somebody. It's basically just personal property.
Yeah, that's the last part that just drives me up the wall. It's like you can't tax people, whatever. I'll get on. How many times are we going to be taxed in this world? Seriously, it's going to be a mass exodus of people going to other countries.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, everybody says, well, gee, you're paying X amount in personal income taxes, and then but then you got, it's not just federal, it's state too, unless you live in a state that doesn't have any income tax. But then you're paying sales tax. So all the sales tax that you pay is after federal taxes are taken out of it. So you're really getting taxed, a couple of different times.
Right. And then you want to go sell something person to person, and you got to tax them again on it. It's like,
yeah,
we need to go to just like a flat tax or a user tax and just be done with it.
I would, that is everybody wants that. But I think the real estate industry, all the other loopholes, the donations to nonprofits, they're gonna really fight back on that, especially real estate. What other's a big deduction area? Well, you got taxes on real estate. You have the mortgage interest, or the interest on the mortgage. You have points and stuff like that. I think the real estate industry is probably the biggest deduction for most people.
Well, that one kind of went away just with this last year of
exactly
over doubling the standard. I don't think there's it's probably 1/10 of people itemized.
Yes, exactly. And so what happened is that you've got caps on the amount of real estate taxes that you can now deduct and interest. And it's I know I got hit pretty hard last year because of that. I actually thought there was more pass-through income from the LLC that would have helped with my tax situation, but that wasn't the case because I lost a lot on the real estate side because I own 3 pieces of real estate.
Sure.
And
that you lost the ability to break that stuff off.
Yeah, I lost the ability to do that. So it didn't work out for me as well as I thought it would.
And I think that's the other reason that there's these record number of filings right now around the extended borderline is because of all that, because people couldn't write off like they would, so they were scrambling and they said, hey, this ain't working, I need to have someone else file my stuff. And they went to professionals instead of doing it on Joe TurboTax or who knows what.
Right. Exactly.
And speculation, but there's got to be something behind it. That's a big one, is the house one.
Yeah. I'm sure the real estate industry lobbyists are just hounding and pounding the legislature to keep all those tax deductions in there.
Right.
But they could still simplify the tax code. I mean, there's 75,000 pages of tax code. 75,000 pages.
Well, that's why you justify $500 an hour for someone to send you an email about your taxes.
Yeah, they have to justify it somehow.
Right.
Well, I had to look up, your tax situation in these 75,000 pages. So here's a bill for $500.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
know
know
why you pay it.
So anyway, getting back to this Bitcoin ETF, as just in the first 40 pages, a couple of things really, really stuck out to me. Number one, they actually named some exchanges in here because the sponsor of the ETF, the Bitwise, which was part of NYSE ARCA, so the New York Stock Exchange, failed to. Let me get to some of the salient points. So the applicant, in this case, Bitwise, says that 95%, and they put this in the application, so it's not something that the SEC is coming back and saying, oh no, you're wrong. The sponsor actually put in there that 95% of the trading in Bitcoin is either fake or, how did they put it? Made up by exchanges. made up. Yes.
And how do they determine that?
I do not know. I haven't gotten through the entire thing yet. They have a lot of footnotes that I might be able to go to get more information on how they determine that. Let me just go and see.
So be curious to see what their definition of fake is, or they mean like crypto miners that are nefariously being installed on things, or are they talking made up actual exchange data?
Yep. So here's one. They don't have to use the percentage in here, but they say the sponsor asserts that once fake and non-economic trading has been removed, the remaining real market for Bitcoin, as identified by the applicant's research, is significantly smaller. So basically, it's just 5% of the entire market.
Wow.
And let me get that number exactly here, because it was peppered throughout here. Okay, here we go. The manipulation of asset prices can occur through trading activity that creates a false impression of supply and demand. And the commission, the SEC, concludes that the applicant's concessions that 95% of the reported trading in Bitcoin is fake or non-economic, including wash trading or trading that is simply fabricated. Yep.
Wow.
So it looks like the exchanges are basically just running their little bots, trading back and forth, faking the Bitcoin volume.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Wow. That's quite the statement. 95%.
Yeah. And I think they got it from another study, somebody else's study. So, and so now what they did was they based the, this is fun. I kind of find it hilarious, actually, because they based their entire application on the fact that only 5% of Bitcoin volume from like a few exchanges is actual real trading. Everything else is just manipulated software bots just trading back and forth. And why would they put an application? And the question is, why would they put an application in which has such poor statistics,
right?
Like that? Unless, and this is just my theory, unless they knew this thing was going to get turned down, and what they're doing is they are forcing the hand of regulators, saying, look, this thing is coming, but 95% of the volume is fake. You guys got to do something about it. That's the only thing I can think of. Why would the NYSE go out on a limb to try to get this? I think the purpose of the application was not to get it approved, but to bring awareness to this issue to the legislator and push legislation. To
shine the light on and say, hey, there's something wrong going on here.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I think that's the case is because the SEC came out with this 112-page document denying the ETF. Why would the SEC write anything of that length? Typically, it's a couple pages. No, not approved. You failed to prove that this is, you prove that there's no market manipulation. That's my guess. There's no other reason why they would go through this exercise.
Sure. Interesting.
Doesn't make sense.
Anurag's asking about screen size. The one we're looking at, I think, is a 24, if I remember right. So this is a 24-inch monitor. Wow. That's very interesting.
They have they say that, and they also name some specific exchanges, and this is something that I think they called them out in this document, which is interesting. They failed. So in other words, they said arbitrage was an important aspect in maintaining fair and orderly markets. So if Bitcoin is trading on Coinbase at one price,
iMovie.
Oh, what is that? Somebody interrupted. Okay. So
Sorry,
basically,
stupid ad.
what happened?
A stupid ad.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you're on Windows. Sometimes I get ads on Macs too, but not very much.
Oh, it's finance.yahoo. There's a website.
Oh, I hate that website.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's insane. When I go up there to look some numbers, like some closing data, they do have good closing data, although you have to kind of check it once in a while. My browser freezes up almost every single time I get to it.
Yeah, they got so many things keying off of that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. They pack it. So let's see, where was I?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I saw an article about the CFTC and cryptocurrency for a commodity for Ethereum, so it caught my eye as you were talking about the other deals. Like, what else are they saying right now?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so here we go. He said the sponsor, the applicant, represents that in April 2019, the average median spread on the 10 platforms that it identifies as real, which includes Binance, Bitfinex, Coinbase Pro, Kraken, Bitstamp, Bitflyer, Gemini, ItBit, and Bittrex and Poloniex, was only $1.31. So the spread between the different platforms that they identified, the sponsor identified as being real trading volume. The spread was very, very small, which indicates that they're not colluding. Well, the spread is very, very small. So there are arbitrage opportunities. Arbitrage keeps markets tight. The spread's very, very tight because when they get out of line and you can trade, let's say GE stock on the New York Stock Exchange at whatever it is now, $10 or $12 or 15 or whatever it is. And let's say 15, and then on the London exchange, maybe it's trading for 17. That creates an arbitrage opportunity.
Right.
And so what they're saying is that the Bitcoin price was only $1.31 during April 2019 on the spread. So it's very, very tight. And they use that as proof that the market is not being manipulated. Now, I don't know if that's true. Actually, the commission said, no, that's not proof that the market is not manipulated.
Yeah, that's a pretty small data size to make a point off of as well.
Yeah. But they pointed out those platforms. And then as you get down into this, they made some interesting comments on a couple of other exchanges. One of the claims. This is how they refuted that the arbitrage expectation that Bitcoin would trade at the same price platforms are not true, because Bitcoin trades at different prices in different countries, such as can be seen in South Korea, or what was seen in India during the peak at the end of 2017. And that's really true. South Korea, I think, had a premium by hundreds of dollars on Bitcoin prices during that time period.
Interesting.
And then they also pick out, and if they looked at South Africa, I think it was specifically like Zimbabwe, Bitcoin was trading at nearly double the spot price on all the other exchanges around the world. The other thing they mentioned was specifically the U.S. Department of Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN, and the New York State Department of Financial Services as reference points for regulation in the country. So New York State is really taking a lead in monitoring manipulation and fraud, and the rest of the country, or at least the SEC, is using them as the kind of the gold standard of regulation at this point, which is interesting because I forgot the guy's name, but he's on the board of director of Ripple's. He's the one who created the Bit license in New York State. Can't remember his name right now. Bitcoin platform lacks real-time and historical surveillance capabilities to identify and stop suspicious trading activities. So one of the big issues that they had also with the application was that you don't have, a lot of the platforms do not have the ability to surveil manipulation in the market.
As a user or just as a?
Just as an exchange. So let's say they go out and they take a look at the trading activity of different entities or users of their platform, who's putting in orders that are withdrawn real quick. So
they haven't built in, gotcha, okay.
You know, so they're putting up bids and offers that are only temporary, and as soon as they get close, they take them out, which kind of gives you the impression that there's more liquidity in the market than there is.
Right.
And it also has the effect of, you know, users in there saying, oh, wow, there's a huge sell wall here. I'm going to sell before I get to that sell wall because otherwise the price is going to tank on me.
Yep.
Yeah, here we go. Furthermore, there are other possible sources of fraud and manipulation in the purportedly real, quotes, real Bitcoin market, including hacking of the trading platforms the sponsor uses for its pricing mechanism. So the applicant in this case was saying, hey, look, we're going to use all these different trading platforms price data in order to get an average of the price of Bitcoin, and that's what we're going to use for our ETF price. But there's other forms of manipulation, including hacking of the trading platforms, malicious control of the Bitcoin network. They point to that, and that we know based on the hash rate of China is huge. So they're pointing to the fact that, hey, you know, China could end up doing something malicious with the hash rate and manipulate the market that way. And also trading based on non-material, non-public information, just the way insider information is illegal in the United States. I wonder how they're going to figure that one out, because Bitcoin is not a private company. Bitcoin is not a share of a stock in which there are shareholders who have an insider knowledge of its workings. Although, I mean, who would be the insiders in this case?
Who is Satoshi?
Yeah, good point. They don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that maybe that's the big deal. That's the insider,
right? And it can't be unknown exactly. I can see why they're going to turn these down. It makes sense.
And they don't know who it is, and that's an unknown, and that's open and ripe for manipulation and all these things there.
So hopefully all it does is paves the way for the rest of the cryptos, so that everything's, you know, obviously we know everybody knows what Bitcoin is, or we can always make a joke with Bitcoin. And
exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm thinking, because all of the objections that they put in this, the SEC puts into this application in response, are something that XRP and other digital assets like Ethereum, I think, probably fit this pretty well.
That have transparency.
That have some transparency about who created them, how they were created, and you know, that kind of stuff. I think is important. They don't have much transparency with Bitcoin. And even though Bitcoin maximalists will say, you know, hey, it's transparent. Of course, you can see every single transaction that takes place on the Bitcoin network. Yeah, except you got this one unknown Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he is or they are.
Yeah, we can see all of your bot activity. Thank you. How about where's the real activity now?
Right. If 95% is fake. Okay. So
right. Let's not go shopping at that store.
So here they start to pick out. I'm on page 35 now. They start picking out some specific platforms. So if you're trading on these platforms, just heads up. The sponsor, who is the applicant of this ETF, quote, refers to one of these real platforms, Poloniex, as too small and illiquid to support meaningful arbitrage trading. Well, I didn't know Poloniex was too small and illiquid. It's kind of news to me. And it states that another, Bitfinex, has a 3% fee on withdrawals. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is. I think they are Visa.
Yeah, you want to take out your money, I'm going to charge you a 3% fee. And so it raises challenges for institutional arbitrage activity. So, I mean, the sponsor was arguing that arbitrage activity helps prevent manipulation, but with a 3% withdrawal fee, you know, that's not a good case for the argument. It doesn't help arbitrage activity if there's huge fees like that.
Don wants to know if they're in Iceland.
Who?
Don says, what country are they in? Iceland? That's making this application?
Oh, no, it's the New York Stock Exchange. It's ARCA. No, it's the New York Stock Exchange.
You should throw in I'm assuming that's a link you're reading just for people's reference. If they want to go study this what'd you say, 117 pages or something?
112. Yeah, I'll put a link in there for you guys. Let's see, we're going to grab it. There you go. There's the doc.
Oh, SEC.gov, good times.
Yes. Yep, right from the horse's mouth. So Poloniex is actually a New York State, I believe. New York is in New York State. Bitfinex is also, and I think the Attorney General of New York State has some sort of lawsuit against Bitfinex, but don't quote me on that. I'm not really sure. So they do call out those two specifically as being kind of illiquid or high fees, and they don't say anything bad about the exchange themselves other than that. The last thing, which was kind of interesting, is that the Exchange Act, this must be the SEC Exchange Act, here requires a comprehensive surveillance sharing agreement. And that's kind of woven throughout this, this agreement here. A surveillance sharing agreement, which means that they're saying, hey, look, you guys make sure that you monitor the activities of all your users. And if you see something unusual, report it. And one of the other things is that they say, while there may be overlap between the SEC's regulation and the New York State Department of Financial Services and FinCEN regulation of digital assets, national securities exchanges are also, among other things, required to have rules that are designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices, to promote just and equitable principles of trade, to foster cooperation and coordination with persons engaged in regulating, clearing, settling, processing information in these transactions and securities, and to remove impediments to and perfect the mechanism of a free and open market. So, I mean, basically they're saying, hey, you got to report to whatever financial regulatory authority you need to, and prevent. So not only do they have to surveil these transactions on their exchanges, but they have to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts. And since they don't have control, or they don't have these surveillance sharing agreements with other exchanges, then they said, no, it's, you're not in
compliance.
In compliance. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big thing. I saw that a lot throughout the document pages that I've read so far, that these surveillance sharing agreements are kind of really, really important. And so if a exchange does not sign a surveillance sharing agreement with you, then you probably shouldn't trust them. Significantly, this is a good one. Significantly, Binance, based in Malta, and the single largest Bitcoin trading platform among the platforms the applicant identifies as real, representing 39% of the purportedly real Bitcoin volume, has not registered with either FinCEN or the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Which is why they closed the U.S. and opened up a Binance.us, because that was while they were writing this.
Yes. And so, by the time Binance.us gets going, hopefully, I don't think they're going to be able to operate unless they register with FinCEN. Hopefully they register with the New York State Department of Financial Services, because, the only exchange that I can use now in New York State is Coinbase.
I'm sorry, Dave, you have to move.
Unbelievable. I can use Bitstamp, but I have to do an international wire transfer to fund the account. They don't, their credit card facilities have been down for now about 6 months. I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm not doing an international wire transfer. So, and it says that half of the Bitcoin platforms the sponsor utilizes in their application lack internal or third-party market surveillance tools. So there's I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And the SEC went through it at lengths here to describe every single one of the failings in this document. Interesting reading. I'm going to continue to read it right through the end. The big, the threads in there are, the surveillance sharing, the 95% of the volume is fake and or simulated.
Right. Fabricated in some way.
Fabricated in some way. That's like gigantic. That's huge.
Right. Just so you guys can see, if you didn't want to pull his PDF, yeah. So obviously it's a legal document, so don't read it at night unless you're trying to go to bed.
Yeah, I started reading it last night. I got very tired. But I found it also quite fascinating the way they kind of kept harping on the same issues.
I always like to go to the bottom for the conclusion.
You skip to the end. Did you do that when you read a novel too?
It's like the Cliff Notes.
All right, let's read that. Let's see what this says. Let's see. For the reasons set forth above, of course, 100 pages of them, the commission does not find, pursuant to section whatever, that the proposed rule change, is consistent with the requirements of the Exchange Act rules and regulations under applicable. Yeah. So basically just saying, nope, sorry guys, you're done. Disapproved. Yeah.
And if you want to see why, then you scroll up. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I think most of it has to do with the surveillance and the failure to register with FinCEN and
visibility. Yep. Well, they can't control it. They got to be able to control it to see it. And if it's going to be publicly traded, then you have to have some. You have to prove what you're doing. It can't be secrets and it can't be manipulated.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, as far as like from a personal point of view, I can understand why the SEC denied it because even the sponsor, the applicant, said that 95% is fabricated. A volume is fabricated on Bitcoin's network.
Yeah, if you're coming to me saying my stuff's made up, but I want approval to do this on the open market, what do you think they're going to say?
Yeah, I know. it's like me coming and trying to sell you like a gold bar, and I'm telling you that 95% of it is lead, but I want you to buy the whole bar like it was gold.
This is actually just a painted brick, but trust me, it's gold.
Yeah, 5% is gold. The rest is fake gold. But I want you to pay the full price.
But I want to set a market out so that people can bid on it. So,
yeah. So I got a little worried about it last night, and so my wife was going to buy some Bitcoin. I said, let's hold off a little bit because I don't know how the market's going to react to this, and probably the market's going to go up. Who knows? They're going to say, 95% is fake. Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, the market will go up. Who knows? This market is very irrational, and I think maybe the manipulators, those who are manipulating the market, would take the market up just to say "F you, SEC."
Right.
I don't know how the market is going to react. It's down a little bit right now, but not much. I don't think this is widespread, though. It's not well known. It came out very late yesterday afternoon.
Very few people are reading this stuff, just like everything else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting close to a wrap.
Yep, we are. We definitely are. Thank you guys for joining us again today. Appreciate it. Heads up in the market. Looks like we're not going to go down too much today. We'll see.
Yeah, it's just been sideways ever since it shot up there.
Yep. Yeah, market internals, I think, remain pretty strong. Yep, they're still in the 66% range on our new MT internals. Right around 66.43.
Little stair stepping up. Yep, there you go.
So I look at that number. Yeah, I look at that 66 and I watch it because that's the average of all the market internals. And if it's over 50, it's a positive day. If it's under 50, it's a negative day. So keep an eye on that, guys. All right, Don, you're welcome. Have a great day, guys. Dan, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
Sounds good, man. Stay warm. I'll warn you, your Monday is going to be really cold.
It's actually nice today. It's going to be up in the 60s, mid 60s today.
We got snow coming this weekend.
Oh, come on. Killing me.
I'm serious. The high is 39 for Saturday.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Took the wind right out of my sails. All right. Well, thanks for that bright news. Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.
Take it easy, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.